Today I'm going to be replacing the inner and outer tie rods on this car. Now the owner's been complaining about a rattling sound and a rumbling in the steering wheel going over rough pavement, which is a really common symptom of failing tie rods. Now when I'm doing tie rods, I always want to do the outer and inner at the same time because they're pretty affordable parts and it really covers my bases when I'm fixing that noise. And it's a pretty simple job to do, so let's get into it. So we're going to pull this nut off, but it is blocked obviously by this pin. So we're going to straighten out this little pin, wrench on the nut. Some tie rods are oriented on the top on some cars, so you'd then obviously hammer from the bottom. You can see how this just flopped right down and it's not able to hold itself up. That's a sign of a wearing inner tie rod. So now we've got to remove this boot, and it's got a little clamp on the front end, which you can get with needle nose. And then the one in the back is a little more tricky. So the bands that hold this on from the factory are usually metal and they have a crimp point. You put a screwdriver on it and then you just whack it with a hammer. There we go. So now we're going to remove this outer tie rod. I'm actually going to go ahead and slip this back into its hole on the hub really quick. That way that'll kind of hold it. You can even throw this nut back on, a couple threads. So it's really important that you count the number of turns that it takes to remove this tie rod end. That way, when you're putting the new one on, you get it in the same place and that keeps your alignment in roughly the same position. You're still gonna probably wanna go get an alignment after this job. There is a method that I use that more accurately maintains your alignment when you're putting this all back together. If you're interested in this method, we've included it in a longer version of this video, which we'll put a link to above. Then we're gonna take this lock nut off. There's also a flat spot for a wrench on the inner tie rod so you can hold it. Now we can just grab the whole boot and pull it straight up. Now to remove an inner tie rod, you will need a special tool, but just like a lot of tools, you can get this one for free at a big auto shop that does a tool rental program. This is an inner tie rod remover. So just to show you how this tool works, because it's a little hard to see in there, I have the new inner tie rod and you can see there's flat spots. So once you find the one that fits, you're gonna set it onto the tie rod sitting in the car, and this tube is gonna grab the little ears and it will then allow us to spin it out of the rack and pinion. So I'm gonna install my little tool piece here. I'm gonna hold it in place while I install the tube. Put my 1/2-inch drive wrench on the end and I can start loosening, lefty-loosey. Now this will just spin right off. So here's the old one, and if I grab the end of it, this ball joint is really loose, whereas the new one is very stiff. I can't even move it by hand. Same is true for the old outer tie rod. I can move this very easily, but this one, I can't. It's super stiff. Just as a side note, some inner tie rods will come with an optional washer. Some cars need them, some don't, and this one doesn't. One last thing before I put it in, I'm gonna put a little blue Loctite on these threads. Really don't want that thing coming off, that would be dangerous. Nice and tight. If the boot you took off is split, obviously you want to get a new one, but this one's in good shape, so I'm going to reuse it. However, the band that I broke off is ruined, so we are going to use a zip tie. And it's plenty strong enough. This isn't rotating. It just has to hold there and go like this. One thing I like to do is partially start the zip tie before I install, so I don't have to mess with it deep inside. Now I can slip this boot back to its outer groove and reinstall the clip. Now I'm going to put the locking bolt onto the inner tie rod, screw it all the way to the end. So now you're just going to put the new tie rod end on the same number of turns that you counted when you took the old one off. I'm going to reinstall it into the hub here. It's a lot harder when this stuff is new because these are really stiff. Okay, I'm going to put the new nut on. Safety cotter pin. So what I want to do here is I'm going to put the wrench on this lock nut, but then I also want to put a wrench on the tie rod because if I just start cranking on this, it's going to put a lot of pressure on the joint itself. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, you're definitely going to want to check out our recent one on the top 5 DIY fixes that mechanics love to overcharge you for.